One. Well, Brian, we are live, episode 15. Welcome to the Average Joe podcast. I guess I'll
Thank you for having me.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I want to say thank you for having me and congratulations on 15, man. A lot of people don't make it this far.
I know I've been saying the goal's to get to 21. So we read somewhere that 21 is the top 1% of podcast. So that's
Yeah,
we're on a good trajectory to get there so far.
absolutely.
Well, I was gonna say you're my first, I guess I don't know if random is the right word, but rather random guest. Pretty much everyone else I've had a connection to so far. So it's cool to talk to someone who I don't know as well and who has a pretty different background. So your whole deal is you make a podcast about podcast, which is pretty pretty awesome. So as someone starting a podcast, I mean, I think talking to you could be super valuable. But before we get there, just let's start with your background. What brought us to here?
Wow. So I kind of fell into public service. I joined the Marine Corps directly out of high school. I went to boot camp 3 days after I graduated high school.
You know, I actually
Um,
my second episode was with my friend who's in the Marines. That's cool.
Very cool.
He's
Very
uh
cool.
he's stationed. He just got moved to San Diego. He was out in Virginia, but he's very excited that he's doing stuff over there now. But
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely.
So
It,
started Marines.
Yeah, I got out of the Corps. I cleaned swimming pools, surfed every day, and smoked a lot of dope for a couple of years just to get the Marine Corps out of my system. And then, I realized
In
it's time to get
California.
yeah, yeah, in Southern California. It's time to get a big boy job. So I fell back into the security world, leading to executive celebrity protection work, being this close to Hollywood. When 9/11 happened, I went to school to get my EMT cert because as a protection agent, I could earn almost double with an EMT cert.
So what does that mean when you say celebrity protection agent?
Celebrities, businessmen. I worked with more businessmen than celebrities,
So
did a
kind of
little
like a like security?
right. We would make sure they got from point A to point B and people left them alone and they were there to do their job. I fell in love with the medicine, man, and I gave up a nice job to run rescue ambulance, running 911 in LA County.
I
Webb
bet you
was
have
all
some stories from that.
it, it was a wild time, man. I learned a lot about humanity. I learned a lot about my tolerance of humanity.
Yeah. So
um,
I don't know if you
but
or if you know much about me. I mean, probably not. This is our first time really interacting, but I work in child welfare, so I investigate severe child abuse cases. So I feel you on the, questioning humanity and your tolerance for it.
people that do your work, one of my good friends, his wife works for LA County on the senior side of the house, so elder abuse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And dude, the compassion you and her have is just mind blowing. I'm not that compassionate. To be, I'm really not. Um, but no, web was always a hobby. A Masonic Lodge approached me and said, "Hey, can you help us start a podcast?" And I said, "Sure." And it was 2008. Podcasting was 2 years old at the time,
That's
and
crazy. So it really started in 2006 was kind of the
2006 is when RSS was developed, and then Adam Curry was the one that went, "Hey, I can wrap audio, and it'll syndicate." And podcasting was born,
Hmm.
which is really cool. But podcasting was hard back then. You had to burn your own feeds. You had
Yeah.
to. It wasn't. People think
When do
it's
you
hard nowadays.
think
No.
No, I don't. As someone who started, it's really not that hard to figure out and navigate. I was gonna say, when do you think it got popular? Because I mean, if you started in 2008, I'm sure it was still in its infancy. People, there wasn't really huge audiences like there is now. I mean, podcasts are get some of the most views in the world now. It's crazy.
Yeah, back then it was a lot of tech shows because the
Mm.
people doing the tech shows were techie and they could figure out the tech to do the podcast, right?
Makes
Uh,
sense.
One of the first shows I listened to was Boag World, and it was on web development. You
Mm.
know, this is back before CSS was a thing. But I mean, every week I learned something and I could implement something new in my toying with the internet. but we launched that show. Life happens.
What was
20,
that show centered around?
just the lodge, what was going on, upcoming events, things of that
Gotcha.
nature. Kind of an audio newsletter to its members, which was cool, and it was quasi recruiting tool. People would find out and go, oh, local lodge, and let me go check the Masons out.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that was a fun ride. 2015, my buddy was teaching at Cal State Fullerton, and they booted him from in class to online, and he would bring in guest speakers, and he taught in the emergency management world, recovery, disaster recovery, mitigation response. And I'm like, man, if we're gonna do this, man, why don't we start a podcast? And he's an EM professional, works in EM, teaches EM. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. And that show, I learned a lot, improved tech, really understood that podcasting is part entertainment, and that just because you're a subject matter expert and you have a microphone and the internet doesn't make you an awesome host. You need to understand,
Yeah.
the entertainment factor and the yes and how to carry conversations, how to ask questions to get the response you want so your audience will feel what you want them to feel.
Yeah, and
That's the sweet.
asking, does that go along with, asking questions that you think your audience would want to ask and know, and sort of just tailoring to that. And I think my work in child welfare and doing investigations and learning how to ask questions, open-ended questions, get a lot of, access useful, reliable information. That background's been helpful, as I'm sure all your prior experiences before as well.
Absolutely. And I was always the guy behind the scenes. I was the guy producing this podcast. We started it, we produced that podcast for 4.5 years. It grew to the point where we had awesome relationships with government agencies and the vendors and companies that built products for emergency management. That show in its heyday. Now we're doing weekly 30-minute episodes. So it was about 2 hours worth a week each
Hmm.
to get the show out. And that show was making 64K a year at its heyday, just in ad deals. But we sold them all. We didn't do dynamic ad insertion. We were cold calling, hitting
Yeah.
companies. You have the product that our audience needs. We have the people you sell to. Let's do a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And because it was super niche, it was awesome. But the relationships with the government was really cool. FEMA would call us saying, hey, the director's got a new initiative. Can we get time on your show? Because we had her audience, or his audience at the time.
Oh, that
We had
is
all five
cool.
on the show. I mean, it was great. It was a good time. And it grew to the point to where we sold it. We actually exited that podcast, selling the back catalog and branding and whole nine yards. So that was full circle moment from conception to
To
walking away with a check.
selling. Yeah.
That was cool. That was cool. But 2016, I opened Sitch Radio. We started producing shows for you name it. We worked with 511, Read Exhibitions, Satcom Direct, down to solopreneurs who did, minimal runs on the health benefits of cacao. And this show, FeedDrops, which how we met, you follow
Yep.
FeedDrops on TikTok, was actually a concept of a guy named Linz Florin. Him and I met at the Outlier Podcast Festival, and we kind of hit it off and kept in touch. He ended up opening up a studio, and I kind of gave him some guidance of all the lessons I learned how not to do. Um,
Which is what I'm also going to be asking.
awesome, man. Um, so back then in the beginning, the first 20 episodes was him and I listening to podcasts and just talking about them. And there's some great episodes back then. The goth episode still blows my mind, man. I
I'll have to
I
check that
well,
one
we can
out.
talk about that later. But now from episode 21 on, I actually rate and review. I have a matrix of 10 areas where I grade, I assign a number to things like clarity, production value, host guest dynamics, and give a grade. And then this is the kicker. I'm not here to tear anybody down. I want podcasters to do a better job, because that rising tide raises all ships, and the industry can be looked upon in better light if more shows were doing a good job.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
if a show scores below 7, I don't do an episode. I send them my report. This is what I found. These are my corrective actions. Um,
Because
fix a
you
few
don't want
things.
to make anybody look bad. You don't want to post on. Oh, that's really interesting.
I don't want to tear anybody down, man. I really don't. And then shows that score 7 or greater, I do an episode on. And it's funny because especially in today's world, I thought people were going to be like, "Oh, this is BS," I do better here and kind of push back. And some reputable shows have reached out and went, "You're absolutely right, man. We've heard it. Sometimes we've even talked about it, but we've never put a corrective action in play. And thanks for calling us out. And now it's a
Yeah.
priority." So
Oh,
that's
that's
kind of
so
cool.
cool. And that
Um,
speaks to, your credibility and ability to give feedback that's useful. If these
yeah,
people are
and
saying,
absolutely. And first of all, it's my opinions, number one. Number two, I'm not a educated college trained audio engineer. That's not me. I'm the scrappy guy who's been podcasting for a very long time, who studied the craft and learned everything I can possibly learn to get to where I'm at and to
that
help
feels
get my
much
clients.
more valuable than just having a degree in audio engineering or anything like that.
And when it comes down to it, an audio engineer, this is beneath them. I mean, most people aren't even running, a Focusrite Scarlett, which has no EQ at all. It's just it's beneath them for lack of a better term. Very few people even run a mixer. Um, and kudos to the ones that do. You're stepping it up a level, which is awesome. Um, so that's the gist of Feed Drops. We spun off a newsletter on Substack. And giving back to the community. It started off with the Kool-Aid of Brian. I'm writing articles to help podcasters improve, but I've built a team, and every single person that contributes to a Substack article owns a podcast production company and offers services for fees to their clients. So it's not just the Kool-Aid of Brian. You're getting Mike, Chris's opinion, and Faye DR's opinion on what's going on, what their outlook is on podcasting and what they've experienced, which I think adds another level of value. And I love it when we disagree because of experience.
Yeah, that's some of the most useful discussions come from diverse opinions and people talking through things and hearing multiple perspectives. So yeah, that's awesome. Um, Anything else you want to talk about your background or should we I have so many questions.
You know what? I've got a rock star daughter who's a nurse practitioner.
Shout out.
I taught her to be independent, and she loves travel and loves adventure and is constantly getting hurt for doing stupid shit, which I absolutely love. So
What is she when you say she loves travel, what's she been doing?
she's traveled a lot in the US. She did her first international trip to Bali over
Oh, that's so
last.
cool.
Yeah, she's in South Dakota right now on a contract. Her half sister just had a child, so she went back to help with a kid and in its early months of life and give parents sleep of that. So she's a rock star. Married, third wife. I got it right this time. We've been married.
That's a funny way to put
I
it.
have to
I'm
leave.
engaged right now, so I we keep joking with each other. We're like, you only get married once, right? Like it's the goal at least.
That's the goal.
Well, I'm glad you got it right this time. Sorry. What what were you
Oh,
sharing about her?
I just learn things the hard way sometimes. But no, you know, we actually met writing for Team and Training for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, training for a 100-mile bike ride, and we've
Oh,
done
wow.
several bike rides together. We love hiking, we love the outdoors. Got 2 rescue dogs and a bunch of plants, and
That's
and
awesome. I think that's something so healthy in relationships is like working out together, exercising, moving, and just I mean that it's so good for you and to share it with someone else also I think is a really positive thing.
absolutely, man, absolutely. And I mean, there's conversations that are had walking on a
Hmm.
trail that would never come about anywhere else in life, whether you're driving or sitting, in the recliners in the living room. So you're absolutely right. I agree with you.
Yeah, and just being outside, like I mean, there's just something to it that just gets you out of your own little normal head when you're working and you're doing these videos and you know all of it. It's a healthy escape in a in the best way.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when it's super hot, she has a health condition where she doesn't do well. So like right now in Southern California, it's just stupid hot, stupid humid. So we're kind of recluses. I mean, we'll get up at 3 a.m. to be at a trailhead before
Oh wow.
sunrise, to be off the trail by noon before the heat of the day.
Oh, but you're going for
Um,
that long.
oh yeah, we we don't go on walks. We've hiked several of the local peaks, and one time this is she comes to me one day. I want to learn to take better pictures. I'm like, well, let's get some cameras. There's a local community college that has a great photography program sponsored by Canon. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just along for the ride. I'm like, oh, I'll learn to take better pictures. And, I learned a lot about photography, videography, which was awesome for this job. But I wanted to take pictures of the mountain lions that we have in our local hills and mountains here.
Oh, that would be so cool.
So there's a great trail, a healthy amount of mountain lions. The
Does that not freak
trails,
you out a bit though? Those
no,
those things are kind of vicious, right? You know?
they are, but they're cats, so they'll attack usually from high to low. So if you're walking through a bunch of trees, look up, make sure there's no mountain lion waiting for you. Um, Trails open at 7, but the parking lots don't open till 8. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. We're just gonna break into the county park. So we order an Uber. This is the 3 a.m. Uber pickup, and the driver's looking at the map like scared. Where are we going? Because it's like a road through wilderness, no streets,
Mm.
no
He's worried
houses.
for his safety at this point. He's like, what's going on here, man?
Exactly. These two are gonna kill me. But like, no, no, we're cool. Just pull up here. We jump out, we hop the fence, and we're on the trail by 3:45, 4 a.m. Hiked until about 1. Didn't see a single cat.
Oh,
We hiked down to Newport Beach, catch an Uber home, grab coffee at Starbucks, catch an Uber home. I'm like, look, 5 miles away, there's a trail we've never hiked. Let's just jump in the truck and go check it out. And camera equipment's in the truck, right? We're just gonna hike a mile in and a mile out and see what's up.
mhm.
We see a flipping mountain lion, and
No
our camera
way.
equipment's in the truck. I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's
so pissed off, man.
like all this effort for
Yeah, for nothing.
Oh, did you so you grew up in California? You were born there?
Yeah, born in Long Beach, grew up in Southern California. Um, Graduated in Torrance High, which has its own school district separate from Los Angeles County, where I went elementary and junior. Straight to the core. Took a lot of college classes while I was in the core when we could, when
Hmm.
my job allowed for it. Um, but just always chased what interests me. It's like I'm doing a deep dive into history. Let's take a couple classes. Let's take this photography class. I took web development classes. I'm just all over the place, man. I'm that consummate learner.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say I feel the same way, and that's another great thing about podcasts is there's something for everybody. And you
You
can
know, and
bounce
not,
around in your own. I mean,
and not just that, if there is something you wanted to learn into a deep dive into, find the guest, find the
yeah.
expert, invite them to
And
be a guest,
and if they're
ask
the
them
right
on.
guest, they'll probably love to be talking about whatever you're talking about. They'd love to see that
Absolutely.
you're excited in the in whatever niche random subject that they are.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, no, I
Absolutely.
I love it, and I think it's really cool just documenting these conversations and other things, um, and just being able to look back on these and the different people I'll talk to, and like you said, the knowledge and just even or just entertainment or whatever it is. But I like the unedited style, even if it's messy and open and maybe not the most entertaining, but it's a really raw feel and it's authentic and having these long conversations. I was gonna say I was actually born in California, so I
Were you?
grew up in Sacramento.
Yep.
Not the best area. I'm sure you've probably been once or twice, but nah.
The place I drive through, all the politicians hang out there, so I don't want to get their stink on me.
Yeah, it's and I live in Tennessee now. It's funny, so many people, and I've lived here for over a decade, but so many people recently have moved from California to Tennessee that people from Tennessee, they'll give you, you say you're from California, they'll give you a little look or be like, "Ugh, psh, you guys keep coming here," and all this stuff. So there's a stigma around it now.
It really, I mean, historically though, we bring our thought processes, which brings our problems with us, and now we're, jacking up their society, their little ecosystem.
Topic for another day. Of
Uh,
Yeah, like I said, given my role, I'm trying to stay away from anything too controversial. Not that that was, but just if you're wondering why I'm not diving diving deeper with you.
no, that's something I talk to my show hosts about, you know, and I've got one guy. It's like we you're doing your podcast for lead gen, a portion of it's lead gen. Why would you share your episodes on social media where you're talking politics, religion? It's like you're going to alienate yourself from potential customers
hmm
because of your point of views. I'm like, just leave it alone. Don't bring it up, and you're going to be better off for it. And first off, social media is not the place to vent about religion or politics, in my opinion, anyway. But it's personal opinions. But no, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't. You never know whose door you're going to knock on.
Yeah, 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 and I mean, in a world where I didn't have a job or other stuff, but that stuff exists and it matters, so it's important, at least to me for now, that I don't dive or talk in any topics that could at least overly upset people if I'm formulating this right. But back to I mean, you just have so much knowledge and background in podcasts. So let's start something you mentioned is you were explaining a lot of the what nots to do. So before I ask you what makes a great podcast, what are some common, let's not do this.
One thing, I guess I'm going to answer your question in a roundabout. I'm really good at that.
Please do.
When somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I've got a great idea for a show. I'm going to call it this. I want my art to look like this," or "Here's my art." Great. What's the mission? And it's just crickets. What do you mean? It's like write a mission statement. If you're going to invest time and money into something, why not have a clear roadmap of what it is you're trying to accomplish? Number one. Number two, let's identify some KPIs that we can utilize to measure success. Is this accomplishing that mission or not? Um, and twofold. Number one, it's a great roadmap for the podcaster. Number two, it's a tool to say no to
Mm.
certain people, things, and ideas and concepts. And it's, hey, I need your help with this, or I've got a great guest for you. They just wrote a book. Authors are, they're in line to get on podcasts. And it's easy to go, well, that doesn't support my mission. Sorry. I'm doing this for a purpose, and that guest wouldn't be a
Yeah.
great fit at this time. We'll revisit it down the line. But understand your why. Number one. Um, understand, and this is hard, the whole build your avatar, speak to that one fictitious individual you've built up in your mind. We never know who you're going to speak to. And yes, it's a good idea to understand, I think my ideal audience is this, but survey your audience over time and see how your expectations align with the reality,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
adjust that avatar if need be. um And you're absolutely right. I love live if it's done well, number one. And number two, people that want to do live or interview shows with me, I ask them to read a book and or seek some improvisational training. Here in Orange County, we have an improv troupe up the street, $20 every Tuesday night, 3 hours. You get an hour and a half of instruction, and then you take turns rotating up on stage, improving.
I mean,
But
the
under,
return on investment for that is it's 20
dude,
bucks.
and it's a great date night. Go get some dinner. You and your girl are up on stage making fools of each other. Awesome, right? Um, but having that understanding of yes and the book I recommend if they don't want to go to a class is called Yes and it's written by the people at Second City out of Chicago, which have produced more Saturday Night Live talent than anyone.
Oh,
It's a
interesting.
highly sought after troupe. Um, and when I have an example. We had, I want to say it was Pete Gaynor. He was a FEMA director. And I mean, this man's been national televised. This is when FEMA directors worked for the president. They weren't part of DHS. Been in front of press hundreds of times. Todd asks him the first question. He goes, "Yep." And just, and Todd's looking at me and I'm looking at him. And he's like, "I'm just messing with you," and dives into the answer. But understanding that dynamic, he's not going to let some scrubby podcaster think he's the authority
Hmm.
when he's the female administrator. So it was just who's boss in the room,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
that's I love that. Yup.
Oh,
Okay.
we're both like, oh no, this is gonna go. But he flexed, we bowed and it was a great conversation. But understanding that emotion is good. We don't want to manufacture emotion, but if things get emotional, that's keep going
Hmm.
because that's when truths are spoken and when people see other people that are vulnerable and can relate, it's game over for that episode or for that story, you know? And the amount of people that can help as long as it's, a healthy emotion. Obviously, we don't want anyone, too aggro, but it's phenomenal. We did an episode 511 is a global brand, and they were doing a series for the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and the majority of it was video. They won 4, 5 tellies for it. Phenomenal. It's all on YouTube for free. The one person they couldn't get in person for video was Will Jimeno. When the towers fell, 3 people were dragged out alive. 2 of them lived. Will Jimeno was one of them.
Oh, wow.
Sustained massive crush injuries, almost lost his life, 36 hours in the pile.
That's
And they
unbelievable.
did a movie. But we've got this man telling this story. And still 20 years later, in one spot, he got a little emotional. And as the producer, I want more emotion, because people will relate to that. That story will be more impactful. So in post production, we exacerbated that emotion a little bit. We turned volumes up. We did everything
Mhm.
we could to emphasize that, yeah, 20 years later, this was such an impactful story that there's still an emotional connection to this horrific event that this man lived through. So it's it's good. But back to your question, have a purpose.
What'd you say?
I said, have a purpose. Back to the
Have a
question.
purpose. Yeah.
Don't just buy a mic and I'm going to talk about whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I think also, yes, and I think balancing that with on some level just starting and have your purpose, but at least for me a huge part was just starting. In my first episode, I had this microphone, I had it hooked up, I didn't even have the right setting on my computer, so it's just us talking into the computer audio. In every episode I've got better, I've upgraded the cameras twice now, and I think and I had a direction in mind, but I think also not getting so overwhelmed with, well, I need this first episode to be perfect, or I need the right microphone, or I need the perfect camera. I think having that purpose and then just starting and understanding that you'll get better at asking questions with the audio, with the video, all of it as it comes. So I think finding the balance between that is also just a useful idea.
absolutely. I teach 2%. We want to be 2% better this week than we were last week. And that could be an extra light. That could
Hmm.
be understanding mouth mic placement a little better. That could be remembering to smile, especially if it's video. Um,
And that'll add
it's
up.
it does, man. I work with a guy, his name's Charles Antis. He owns a roofing company. And his role now is pretty much just the philanthropic guy. He's on several boards. The C-suite runs the company for him. And every time I'm with him now, he remembers what I taught him, and he just exacerbates that smile because it
It gets on. He's like,
chemicals in, and it makes us happy, but it ups the energy, but our audience can see that. And I do it today. I recorded an episode this morning, and I'm like, record. I take a deep breath, counting. Okay, we're recording. Second three, stretch out. All right. Well, and I just get into that flow, but I want to start off with that energy level.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if
yeah.
not feeling it, I won't do it. If everything that we create should be a gift to our audience. And that's the way I truly look at it. So,
Yes, and well, at least for my but for my style, and as I was saying, I guess this is my purpose is doing these unedited, usually longer form. Like I had a post 3 hour conversation the other week, which was fantastic. But for me, since I'm doing it kind of the way I'm doing it, can you hear me? Sorry, my internet looks a little unstable. Good. I think having some of those conversations, even if they're not the most entertaining or a little messy or a little all over the place, I think that's okay for what I'm going for,
yeah.
if that makes sense. So even if I'm not, as smiley or animated as I normally am, or even if the conversation is a little duller than normal, I'm still gonna upload it, and that's kind of part of what I'm going for. Not to push back against you, but just kind of justifying my my
Oh,
own
no, the
style.
cool thing is, number one, you swallowed the bitter pill already. You got started. You will get better just due to the repetition.
100%.
You're going to understand that we have the luxury of having video, and just taking nonverbal communication cues is going to make the show flow a little better. And
Yeah.
you onboard that new guest, you know, that it should be a process, but letting them know, look for nonverbal cues. If you want to interject, put your hand up. The audience doesn't realize I'm raising my hand, but you and I have this communication that I'm going to jump in here. It's things like that you will slowly get better at over time, and before you know it, it's happening without thought,
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure. What along those lines, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on podcast virtual, this way over Zoom, Riverside, whatever it is, versus in person? I'll just leave it at that and see what you got.
you know what we've done a lot of in-person shows, and depending on the subject matter, it there could be a benefit. Okay, if the conversation will hold up on its own, whether there's video, whether you're together, it doesn't matter. But I, I, I can give you an example. We got some emotion out of this guy, and I'm not going to name names. Delta Force operator, dog handler, was lent to the Navy SEALs so the SEALs could figure out, should we incorporate dogs into the teams. So this
Interesting
guy
role.
is just a legit break glass in case of war, don't cross guy. He posts about his dog on Instagram and has this big following for his dog, who he retired from the military with him. It was his working dog on the teams. This little kid sees him on Instagram, who's autistic, who also has a service dog. And like most little boys, they dress up like soldier and want to play army. And his dog's got goggles and a tack vest, and he's got little Velcro patches with his dog on him. And, he has his own I'm not sure he's on TikTok. He has his own Instagram following. He does YouTube videos. Um, but these guys bonded because they both were dog lovers, right? Well, the host of the show doesn't have children, doesn't have a lot of experience with children. In person is mom, dad, boy, dog. On the video screen is the operator, being wired in. He couldn't travel to the studio. And then we have the host. I'm sitting in the booth, and we're running the show. The operator didn't bring it up because it was still too rough and raw. But that dog who retired from the service with him, he had to put down a couple days earlier due to some, medical issues.
Oh,
Boy didn't know it. The boy's like, "How's the dog?" And he puts his head down and he chokes up and tears streaming down his face. And this is the Delta operator.
I'm getting
I
chills.
put him down, buddy. Uh, So now the kid's crying. The mom's like, "I don't know what to do." The dog jumps up. "Who's making my boy cry?" The host is like, "I don't know what to do here." I'm like, "Okay,
Everybody's freaking out.
we're going to take a break. Let's take 10, stretch our legs, get some water." But I left everything rolling. We recorded every ounce of it. And it comes time for a post production meeting. And I said, "Look, I've got this. I don't recommend that we use it. We can lead into it and then come back from break without sharing this raw emotion because it's just too personal in my opinion." And they
Mhm.
agreed with we didn't use it. So it's in person can be a bad thing sometimes is what that story boils down to.
Yeah, yeah.
But anytime you can sit across from somebody, it's better because that nonverbal communication, the energy, you're going to feed off of each other more so than a video call like this. The opportunity to have a beer or cocktail beforehand if you consume, is going to relax things a little bit. One of the biggest tricks kind of relates to this. If I have a guest that is like super nervous,
Mhm.
I'll give the host the nod and he knows to screw up.
Oh, so he'll, stutter or something to make that person at ease. Like it's all right if to mess up. We'll
Everybody
we'll keep
does it.
going. Oh, that's
Right.
that's awesome. That's smart. Yeah.
Right. So the guest relaxes and it's a better show. And, whether we leave it in or cut it out, if it's live, it's in. If we edit, then we'll edit that out. But
Yeah.
we relax the guest by letting them know without communicating it's okay.
Well, I think what's nice about this format that I'm doing too is even if it's a little awkward the first few minutes, these conversations I'm having are so long that at least so far everyone's been comfortable or settled in, even if you're a little nervous at first, even myself in the first few episodes, and then especially person to person, I mean, it really is just having a conversation. And it's
Right.
something, I mean, I'd say I'm more on the extroverted scale. It's something I do all the time and that a lot of
Right.
people do all the time is talk, and people enjoy talking about themselves and sharing things and sharing their narrative. So it's actually been a lot less nerve-wracking than I necessarily thought it would be, because you got a camera, microphone. I thought it'd be a little more awkward, but it's actually been relatively smooth, fortunately.
Oh, I mean, especially since COVID, everyone's used to more, I shouldn't say everyone, more people are used to Zoom or teleconferences and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Well, most of mine
Um,
have been in person, which I definitely enjoy more. But there's some guests, I can only access online. Like you, I'm in a master's program that's based in Sweden. There's people there that I want to talk to. So it's a awesome tool to have. If I can do them in person, I'd love to, but I'm not gonna sacrifice, some of the conversations that I may have just because I have to do them like this.
Absolutely. And one thing I would recommend to you is have a pre-call and just, hey, we're gonna do a tech check. We'll call them, make sure bandwidth is good, lighting's good, camera's good. You're not gonna do it on your cell phone while you're driving, type of craziness, which we've had. Um,
You've had guests get on they're driving on the cell phone. They're like
and it's like,
they're
no,
trying to zoom
we are
in.
not. You're not. You're in a truck driving on a desert road, bumpy and loud. We're not doing this. Schedule. But have that tech check and let them know from the location you're going to be utilizing the technology you're going to utilize. Um, and that's going to relax them. They're not going to be worried about tech because they're going to be able to work through it sooner. But it also allows you time to get a little rapport. And we're talking 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A little rapport. And this question is a great question to ask during that tech check. What questions are off the table you do not
Mm,
want me to bring up? And they're going to it. subconsciously they're like, oh, this guy's cool. He's allowing me not to talk about these things, and he's bringing it up front in a private setting.
And especially the
And
style I'm doing because I'm not editing out stuff. So getting that on the front end is super useful.
yeah, absolutely. But it's going to let them know, look, this guy's a professional. He knows not to push buttons. But then on the other hand, I teach everyone try to push one question past comfortable if you can,
Mm.
because that's where you get a little emotion and that's where some good conversations are had. And you're not going to know where that line is unless you do a little deep dive. You're going to have to spend some time looking at them on social media. What are they talking about? Is there any tweet that you could bring up that you could counter? You know, did they post something on LinkedIn that you can disagree with and have a conversation about? It's
I
just doing
really
that.
like that concept. You're like push the line of comfortable because that is where the best conversations are, where people disagree or people feel passionate about things, or even in real time, the people talking are sort of discovering something about themselves or the conversations they're having. So yeah, I really like that concept.
Yeah, and then I think people think that podcasting is, oh, I like dirt bikes. I'm going to get a mic and we're going to do a show about dirt bikes. Cool. Study a little bit. I I sent out reminders and email blasts and text blasts to all my hosts when Oprah was going to interview Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Watch this interview. She's a good interviewer, number one. Number two, we're going to get together on a Zoom and talk about it. What lessons can we learn from that to apply to our craft? And the funny thing is, I was the only one that brought up, I thought Oprah was very disrespectful and dismissive when talking to Harry.
Ah,
She wanted Meghan Markle's attention. And other people like, no, yeah, I guess she was a little dismissive. And how did that come off to the audience? Some people didn't notice. I was like, screw Oprah, why would screw her? That's I want to hear Harry's opinion. But watch some of the greats, man. Some of the old interviewers, 50s, 60s. I mean,
who would you recommend?
anybody who's like Tom Brokaw, when he was doing some of his interviews with politicians, senators, presidents, and not only pay attention to the questions, pay attention to the body language, pay attention to how they will not let a politician not answer a question.
And the tone, right? To go along with not just the words being asked, but the way that
Yeah,
it's asked is quite powerful.
absolutely. Pay attention to how the guests will skirt issues and not answer the questions.
Politicians
Because
seem to be quite skilled in that regard for the most part.
absolutely. Um, it's funny. There's an old TV show. Yeah, I'm dating myself. The West Wing. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's
I have
25 years
not.
old. Amazon. I think it's on Amazon Prime or Netflix. Um, but there's a character in there who's a brand new press secretary. So she's now the voice of the president dealing with a room full of media. And watch just for that, how they prep her to go out there, answer like this, don't answer like this, use this word,
Mhm.
not that word. And even though it's a TV show, there's lessons learned there of how Hollywood portrays this press secretary speaking to the masses. But study, learn, watch some of the. I did an article on Substack about encouraging podcasters to listen to some of the great podcasts, like 20,000 Hertz, and listen to how they use music and how they use white space, for lack of better terms, dead air, to break segments up, and how it's okay to stop and think and take a breath. And I mean, and there's a lot of great shows out there that I'm not going to talk crap. There's a lot of popular shows out there where there's not as much to learn. There's a lot of great
Mm.
shows out there that you've probably never heard of. Um,
So what would be, I know this is probably an impossible answer for someone who's listened to as many podcasts, has the background that you do. So you can throw out a couple, but what would be your favorite podcast personally?
right now I'm in love with The Moth.
Tell me about that.
The Moth, Moth. And The Moth started out in a bar where people come together, put their name in a hat. If your name's drawn, you've got 5 minutes on stage to tell a story. No notes, has to be your story, has to be true to you. And what I learned from that and can apply to podcasting's phenomenal. Anecdotes, transitions, the use of teasing something at the front of the story and then coming back to it at the end and tying it all together. So it's not technical, it's just strangers, people who had a name drawn out of a hat telling a story for 5 minutes. And I mean, every day I don't have time to listen to an episode throughout, but I'll listen to one story. It's 5 minutes and
Yeah,
then move on to
yeah.
something else.
And it's different
Um,
every time. There's variety, different people, different backgrounds.
some some suck, some are phenomenal, some you wish would never end. There's a great book called Story Worthy, written by a guy named Matthew Dix, I believe, who's a Moth Grand Slam champion over and over, multiple times, and wrote a book on telling story, crafting story, and how it is an art. And reading that and listening to the Moth, I use a tool called Notion. I actually built a Notion database where I'm developing stories. And this might sound strange. I have a little stage fright, but I will put my name in the hat one day at a Moth event.
Yes, you will.
And whether it's sold or not, that's out of my control. But I've got two stories ready. Um, and yeah,
We won't make you share them here. We got to save them for the.
I get giddy talking about it, which is weird because I talk all the time, but it's a different environment. It's live. It's in front of humans. They're going to
Yeah.
tell me I suck instead of leave me a bad review.
Well, I have two thoughts. One, and I talked about this in one episode. I think it would be such a cool concept, and I need to figure out the logistics to do this. But to get a table, get my setup, it's pretty mobile right now. Set up in some public place, put a sign that says, "Want to be on a podcast? Sit down." Some version of that, and just record and see. I mean, maybe no one will sit down, and I'll just be sitting by myself for 2 hours talking, trying to get people. Maybe I'll have some really, really cool conversations. I think that is a really cool concept. It may have been done, but I haven't. I actually need to look up. I was going to do some research on that, but I'm not aware of anybody who's done that. Um, and then my other thought was, yeah, it is storytelling is so central to us as people and the narratives we tell and the stories we tell about ourselves and others. I mean, everything like you could talk about just plain data and facts all day. None of it matters. As you were saying, there's, really, really intelligent people or experts who can't, for the life of them, have a podcast that will keep audiences engaged and take them on a journey and story and tell these narratives. I mean, that is just so important to humans.
So, two questions. Number one, what's
Hit
the
me.
last cool story you heard?
The last cool story I heard.
It could be a guest on the show, somebody at work,
Oh,
your
good question.
family,
Well,
or
I
just a funny little anecdotal story that you remember.
you putting me on the spot. Well, this stands out to me, even though this isn't super recent. But like I was saying, I have a master's program in Sweden, and I go a couple times out of the year. It's mostly online, and then on the way back, I was like, I'll stop at in Iceland for a weekend. I thought it'd be cool. I was staying in this cheap hotel, which everything in Iceland's pretty expensive. It wasn't that cheap, and they had a hot tub on the top. So I went there. I was hanging out, and then this guy, this big guy, and his son came in the hot tub, sat down, started talking to him. He was from Hawaii, and he was telling me the story how he was a consultant and he was traveling all the time, and then he started a corn dog company in Hawaii, and he was telling me how it grew, and he's like, it's amazing how much, we traveled to events, we're doing all this stuff. I have people working for me. I mean, this corn dog business, he's like, he was so excited telling me about it. I thought that was, I mean, it was just so interesting to be sitting in a hot tub in Iceland with a dude from Hawaii who went from a business to just selling corn dogs and absolutely loved it. Like the way he was talking about it, I was so compelled by his story. So that's what stood out to me. I can I throw it back at you? Do you have
I
something?
got question two, part
Okay,
two.
question two.
Tell me about the last coolest PowerPoint presentation you saw.
I
It's
did a
story,
I did a PowerPoint presentation a day, so selfishly, no, actually, mine it didn't even look that good. Yeah, no,
but it's story, man. Stories king.
yeah, no, that's a good. I like the two-parter there. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, the everything we do really comes back to stories and narratives, and like I said in my field, I mean, when I'm working a case and I have to present it in court or to district attorneys or to my supervisor, I have to construct a narrative. And I don't mean construct in the sense of making stuff up, but all the information I have to put together. I can't just say, you know, mom said this super monotone. Like I'm making a story of everything.
Right.
So it's yeah, being skilled at that and whatever tools and resources you can do to get better at telling stories, I think is immensely valuable.
Absolutely. So you're gonna throw a question at me. What you got?
Oh, I was gonna say I was gonna throw it back at you. What's the story that stands out to you that you've heard recently? Funny, anecdotal, memorable, whatever.
You know what? I was just talking to him before we jumped on. Former vet. He was a Navy corpsman, took a mortar round in Iraq. He was working with an Iraqi MIT team. Read his last rites, 130 plus surgery. Shouldn't be here with us today.
130
And
plus surgeries?
yeah, he was jacked up, dude. Yeah. He great guy. And he's a PTSD mentor now. And I don't know how he deals with all of his trauma, listening to all the vets that he helps daily with their trauma. But
Probably helps him. It's probably therapeutic for him to help other people in a sense.
yeah, yeah, that part for
Gives him some
sure.
purpose to do that. But
We're talking about him coming back. He was able to retire. Um, did full 20 years, not a medical retirement, from the Navy. But we're talking about transitioning back into civilian world. He goes, man, a couple years ago, I was the deadliest weapon on a battlefield. Today's Tuesday. I have to take out the trash.
it's a shift.
I mean, but that little anecdote is like that speaks volumes, right?
No, it
The
does.
it's
It's
you're yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, well, a guest I had on, William, he's a bodybuilder, and he finished first place in some of the competitions he did. And he was saying this isn't quite the same, but sort of a comparison. He was like, that day, that bodybuilding competition, I know I will never look like that again, and it makes me so sad. He's like, he goes, even though now, I know I look muscular, I'm still work out all the time. He goes, that's what I'm comparing myself to, and I don't look like that anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's crazy how, for him, he's like, I was this badass dude in the military, and now here I am, and it's probably rather unstimulating and boring compared to what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I work with a couple veterans podcasts, and it's it's interesting how I've had to have them hold back, you know? We don't have our senses of humor are not your sense of humor is different than the average civilian because of what the work that you do. I mean, even
100%.
though the numbers you see it dements you a little bit, but there's still some comedy in that, but you can't share that, you
Yeah,
know?
it's true. You
Dude,
do have to suppress it.
yeah, people are gonna look at you like my wife when we were talking when we were first started dating, and she's like, "Oh, what was it like being in an ambulance?" She's like, "Oh, lights and sirens, and you're helping people and saving lives." And It's like at the end of the day, it's just another file folder crossing my desk. I get an address, I show up, I treat, I package, I take to a
Mhm.
hospital. Hope I got time for lunch before my next call. And she's like, that's kind of a that's not you're kind of a
It's not
dick. I'm like,
glorious.
it's that's the reality of that job though.
Yeah,
You
and you
know?
have to put on a cap. I mean, you can't get so deeply connected to every call you get out on, or you wouldn't be able to do the job.
And
And
it's
then,
dude, we pulled up on a gang shooting once, multiple down, multiple dead. We roll in from the north, I think it was, and when we get there, the PD says, "Take him." And the guy was gone. He could have been declared at the scene, but there were a lot of gang members around that were his friends, and they wanted us to save this guy.
so they were worried for y'all's safety if you declared.
So we package this guy, we're doing CPR, and we take him to the hospital,
That
you know,
is, the
for
police are
our
like,
safety.
take him. Like, yeah, take him.
And then we get to the hospital, and the doctors are like, "What the hell are you doing?" They're yelling at us because we're wasting their time and resources.
And they're like, look, you would have had more of us coming in.
I had a partner that was actually stabbed. The bad guys followed us to the hospital and stabbed my partner. I was inside with the patient, stabbed him while he was cleaning the ambulance. Eh,
Even
Not
most,
not my call. And let me pull back. I wasn't his partner at the time. I partnered with him
uh,
later, and he told the story. Um,
that's
it blows
crazy.
my mind. You know?
Especially, even if you're a criminal, you would think most of them appreciate that. Well, you guys are there to help. Like you're doing a job. Your
Yeah.
whole job is trying to make sure people aren't dying or injured. It's crazy to go after you guys.
But you just see wild stuff, man, and it's some of it's unbelievable, some of it's horrific. You know, it's there's still a freeway I don't like driving on because of an accident we responded to. Let's put it that
Oh,
way. And this is 30 years later, you know, and it's like,
yeah.
yeah, let's take a different road this time. Let's take the
Yeah,
long.
I mean that stuff will stick with you, and it's but one on a more optimistic look is even doing the work I do. I mean, most people really care about their kids. Sometimes people are a little misguided or need some assistance with services, but it's such a small percentage of people who are just outright abuse, neglect their kids, don't care about them. It's the smallest percent, and most people really are are uh, are good and so that's my more optimistic view is that there's a lot more good than bad overall.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm assuming that whatever agency you work for offers counseling and more mental health nowadays than years past, I would hope.
Yeah, so we work with different providers, but that's a common thing where we get people into counseling or mental health
No, for you,
assessments. Oh, for
you
me.
speaking and
Ah,
dealing
so
with.
so they offer like 5 free sessions a year or something. I actually have not done it myself, but I'm pretty lucky. I have a really good support system. My dad's been dealing with crime and abuse against vulnerable populations, including child welfare or elderly, especially people with disabilities. So, I can always talk to him and
Good.
then my colleagues. So I've been fortunate to not really need it, but I'm sure it is more accessible than it was in the past.
Yeah, I mean, even in my day, it's like, hey, we know that was rough. Chaplain showing up at station 45. You guys want to clear for an hour?
And
And
I'd
if
be
we
like,
do,
we're good.
then we're screwing everybody else.
Everybody else is picking up the next call.
Nope, we're good. Send
Well,
us
I
the
guess it's
next.
kind of the same dynamic here, right? I take a mental health day or week or whatever. It's that's one less person getting cases goes to my coworkers. So
Yeah,
that exists.
yeah. It's when I was in the Marine Corps, I had a job where I was in what they called the personal reliability program. So in our medical records, you open it up and there's this big pink flyer, PRP. So if they administered certain drugs, we couldn't work. So
Hmm.
they gave us an option. You should have this drug, but you're not going to, we're going to have to pull your PRP. Or we can give you this drug. It's going to suck, but it'll help. And you're like, oh, because you don't want to be off guard. You're off
Yeah.
guard, then you're screwing everybody else. And that definitely doesn't fly in the Marine Corps. So you just suck it up and take the pain and deal with it.
Yeah, it's a really crazy world. And then as an EMT, I'm sure you were on call sometimes nights, other stuff you get called out like that.
Yeah. So there were 10-hour cars, 12-hour cars, 24-hour cars. So you pick up at 24. You had a house you would work out of, so you could go back in between calls, but
Hmm.
there's only one day in 4.5 years where we had zero calls. We hit zero and we're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was gonna
Great.
say, so I have to be on call sometimes too for work, probably about 4 or 5 times a month, and it's even if we don't get a call, it's just so stressful, because you got your work phone, you're going to sleep, but part of your mind just knows I could be called at 3 in the morning. I don't know, you don't know what it's gonna be, but it's not gonna be good if you're if you're getting woken up for it.
Right.
So that's just, I mean, it's pretty exhausting being on
Yeah.
call like that, as I'm sure you felt too. And like you said, zero calls one time in 4 years speaks to
My
the
first
volume.
my first duty station in the Marine Corps, you worked for 4 days, you were off for 2 days, you trained for 2 days, you went back to work for 4 days. And those 4 days, it was 24/7. Alarms go off, you go to work. There was no, it didn't matter, you know? And my grandmother passed, and I took a flight from Adak, Alaska to Anchorage to Washington, down to Texas to Boston. Then we drive to Whitefield, New Hampshire. And I'm sleeping at a cousin's house whom I'd never known. I met him for the first time. Flipping alarm clock goes off in the morning, and I jump up, can't find my gear, screaming, "Where's my rifle?" They're all looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like panicked because I can't find my kid, you know? And it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of stress.
You're like, yeah, that was that was lodged in there.
Like, relax, relax. Like, oh shit.
Oh,
Well,
it's
I'm up.
crazy.
You got me. Hey man, I want to get this back to you and your show. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. Are you ready?
Please do. I only got about 15 more minutes, unfortunately. So
Not a,
let's do it.
not a problem. Um, what is your ultimate goal? Number one goal with the show right now?
So my number one goal with the show right now to be rather simple and vague is to have fun with it.
Okay.
I'll expand a bit more. So I actually used to make football edits. Even when I was a kid, I just loved making videos on my iPad. I'd add effects, I'd do all this stuff. And then I started a football highlight channel, so college football, NFL, called Model Highlights on YouTube. Ended up getting about 40,000 subscribers, over 40 million views. And that was really cool, but none of it was my content. And I was just, so everything's copyrighted, NFL, NCAA. It's not me doing anything. I'm just, well, I was doing a lot of work actually putting together these clips and stuff, but not my content. But that I've always liked. I've always liked talking. I feel like I get fixated on different things and topics. And I mean, like I really like fitness stuff. I like watches. I like James Bond. I DJ. I'm doing my master's program, child welfare. I like psychology. So there's just so one, I like the video. Two, I like talking. Three, I think it's really cool to document conversations with people like we are doing now, like I've done, in my past episodes, and just have a record and be able to look back and see here's what I was like at the time, here's what I was thinking, here's what I was talking about, here's people who meant something to me or conversations I had. So I'm not doing it. I'm not seeing this as being profitable. I'm seeing this as me gaining experience in something that I think would be really cool to look back on, get some good experiences, have some great conversations, connect with people, especially people maybe I haven't connected with in a while, getting them on a podcast and talking and all of that. So that was a pretty long-winded answer, but that's my overall goal, if we want to label it that.
No, and that's absolutely cool. I encourage you to revisit that every once in a while. I encourage you to look back on the interviews you've had and the shows you've had and identify at least one thing that, oh, I could have done that better.
Yep.
Uh, and work on it and
Yeah,
pr-
yeah, yeah.
practice getting better at the craft and don't fall into the trap of, oh, I've got to get an episode out. I've got to get an episode
Mm.
out. And one thing I encourage all my show hosts to do is like call it a hit list, put together a hit list. Who are the top 10 people you would just love to have on your show?
Like in a perfect world. Doesn't matter
Perfect,
how famous, doesn't.
perfect.
I
For
like
four and a
that.
half years, the White House got an email every week from EM Weekly. None of the presidents ever came on the show, but
But you tried.
we tried. Um, but no, and then put together that email, make it personal or DM or hey, I'm Joe. I do a show. It's called the Average Joe Podcast. I would love to have a discussion for the show talking to you about this and make whatever this is something that they're the subject matter expert in and send it. And when you
I
don't
love
hear
it.
anything back, you send it again in a couple of weeks and try their DMs on whatever platform. Try to hit them on LinkedIn. But you never know who's going to say yes. And that
Yeah.
one guess, bang, it can change your outlook. It can change your roadmap. It can change the goals that you've set for yourself
And
for this
especially
show.
like you're saying, this is someone I'm like, I really like their stuff. I want to talk to them and the value I could gain, which makes it
Absolutely.
better for the audience too, obviously, when I'm engaged and enjoying the conversations and vice versa. So, oh, that's yeah, yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And send those emails, man. And it's a canned email, personalize it per,
Yeah, of
but
course.
work it because you never know. You can catch them on a good day. They can say yes. And now you have, wow, this guest coming on your show.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Just
it
talking to some 24-year-old kid who had the balls to reach out and hope for an answer.
there's a great book called Ask. And basically it's that, you're never going to get
Yeah,
it.
it's in the title.
It is. Um, But no, man, I've obviously we met on TikTok. I've been following your stuff on TikTok. I've gone to your YouTube. I've looked at some of your episodes. I have one downloaded that
Oh,
I'm getting ready to listen to and
which one is
critique.
that?
Um, I
I,
shut.
I
Let
might
me.
give you a new one if we can audible.
You know what? Send me the audio file. Send me a link so I can download the audio file, and I'll switch it out. I'll do that for you.
Can I
It
give you
was
YouTube or Spotify? Will that work?
um, yeah, I'll make it work.
Thank you.
Not all platforms allow downloading. Some do. Um,
Spotify should.
but I download the episode
Copy
because I
that.
need the file to run through some software I use to look at things. Sometimes I hear things differently. And I'll be 9 times out of 10, I can go, you have a window open, don't you? Yeah, how'd you know?
Oh,
You
I bet
know?
you're no, you're pretty dialed for all of that at
Yeah.
this
And
point.
but sometimes I'm like, there's something at a frequency that's just not sitting right. So I'll throw the file in some software and look at things differently. But yeah, shoot me a link, man. I'd love to. That'll be way cool.
Awesome.
That'll
Well,
be way
I
cool.
yeah, I really appreciate you. It was so cool. I reached out to you and you're like, I'm always down for a conversation. It wasn't like maybe, let me check my schedule. I don't know. And obviously you see my stuff, I'm not huge. I don't have a huge audience, but hopefully I will one day. And if not, I'm still enjoying it while doing it.
I just ask two things I always ask. Number one, pay it forward. Never say no to a podcaster, especially when they're starting. Number
So this is one thing too, me starting, and I thought that beforehand. I'm like, if anyone ever asked me to be on a podcast, I would have said yes so quick. Like I feel like I have stuff to talk about. And I was thinking that, and I was like, there's got to be people like me, right, who are thinking this. And that's kind of been everyone I've reached out to so far has said yes, which is awesome. But number two.
we use Notion for our production planning, and we have record of everybody we've ever invited to be a guest.
Hmm.
And when they reply, no, you're not big enough, or some snarky remark, we flag it, right? And as the show grows, they've come back to us.
Mm.
Sorry, we've moved in a different direction, but we'd love to offer you an advertising package.
Yep.
And we actually sold the guy.
Oh, that's all. He was like, "No, I'm not doing it." You're like, "No, you can, if you pay us, we'll, put your
Yeah,
name out there."
yeah. Never burn a bridge is the point. And the second thing I want to share with your audience, Joe's taken the time to put this and many other episodes together. And the least that I can ask you to do is leave him a rating, leave him a review, leave him a comment. Reviews help discovery. And if you have constructive criticism, leave that too. None of us are perfect. We're all getting better at the craft, but take the time. If you found any value in this, take the time, leave a review, leave a comment, and it's appreciated. And that's every show you listen to, every YouTube channel you watch. It doesn't take long. So
I need to
that's
get
the,
better at saying that. That was so well said.
you know, I was on two shows and they've listened to FeedDrops episodes, and I actually have a canned spot no matter what show you're listening to. And I call it a podcast service announcement, and there's a tone up front, you
Yeah,
know.
it's true
But
though. It does. Interact. It's great. It's better for us. It's better for you. Interact.
absolutely. And the kind word, do you have 2 minutes?
Yes.
I was doing a show. I'll disclose my wife was the host. I co-hosted. She has a thing called Sjogren's syndrome. It's autoimmune. It attacks the moisture producing glands in the human body. 80% of the people diagnosed with it are female. And everything online, you search it, you Google it, end of the world, life sucks. It was all negative, negative, and negative.
Mm.
She's like, Brian, help me do a podcast. I want to talk how we can live positively, even though we have this. Awesome. We're doing the show for a couple of years. She gets a DM saying, hey, I want to thank you for this episode you did. I was considering starting a family, but was really concerned with Sjogren's. This episode that you did with the labor and delivery nurse talking about um, the gestation period with Sjogren's convinced me that it's okay. And here's a picture of this first sonogram.
That is, I mean, wow.
6 months later, we got pictures of the baby. Everybody's happy and healthy.
Like it for your wife, I'm sure just having that one person say that the years of doing this is worth it to tell someone that you can do something you want to do even with this. Oh, that you gave Brian, you gave me chills again. That's
That's
powerful,
the
man.
power of this medium, man. That's the power of this medium.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, and to wow, I think we have to end it on that. That was fantastic. That what a good I mean, just that is so awesome. And I hope, something I say is helpful or helps someone in their life. If there's any use at all, that's amazing. And
Absolutely.
likewise, it always feels good to actually hear it, and especially to the level of that story. Well, Brian, I really appreciate your perspective. I wish I had more time. I've been like I said, I'm working full time. I'm doing a master's. I'm trying to live a life. I'm sure, as you know, it's hard to balance everything. But thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. If I'd love to do one in the future too. I know you'd be open to it, and you're always down for a conversation, like you said. But yeah, thank you so much. Obviously I'll keep you updated when I upload this one, but it's been a great conversation. I'm sad I can't go much longer.
Hey, no, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I enjoy what you're doing on TikTok and YouTube. I am a follower now. Um, and keep crushing, man. Chisel away.
Oh, I appreciate it. You as well, Brian. Thank you so much for, I mean, just your hearing your perspective and your background. It's really amazing, and it's cool to be just some 24-year-old kid talking in Tennessee, talking to you who has a lot more experience and stories and all of that. So it's no, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate it, Brian.
Likewise, Joe. Appreciate your time.
All right.